Welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking about that nagging knee pain. You know, maybe some of you have experienced this in the past. You wake up in the morning, you get out of bed, first thing that happens is, boom, your knees crack like crazy. Maybe you're bending over in order to pick something up off the floor. Maybe it's just that you feel the weather front come rolling through, and it's those aching, nagging knees. Well, listen, tonight we're going to talk about a couple of things that are in your control. We want to make sure that we keep this process simple, that we make sure that we're able to have some takeaways, some action steps that we can go home and do right away. And I want to encourage you, as we walk through this conversation tonight, I want you to be writing down in the comment section what you're going to do. I can give you all the suggestions in the world. I can talk about all the different things that you should know in order to help yourself. But it's the action that you're going to commit to that's the most important thing. So, as we think about this, we recognize that, those aching needs of ours are oftentimes the things that prevent us from keeping active, from staying healthy. And let's recognize our health is that most valuable commodity that we have. And in turn, once we lose it, it is so hard to regain it. So my desire, my hope for you is the fact that, as we talk about these things, as we have these discussions, that you protect yourself. You protect yourself from making the mistakes that are going to cost you. Not just the money, but the time and the lost opportunity, but that vitality that you never ever get back again. This is the sad reality of those aching knees, is where it takes us. The average knee replacement in the United States costs in excess of $37,000. Now, I would love to say that that's the worst part about this conversation is the financial that comes with it. But that's absolutely not the worst part. The worst part about it is the fact that, the short-term recovery is going to be somewhere around 12 weeks long. Who wants to spend the next 3 months recovering from this surgery? Nobody does. It's lost opportunity. But we break it down into short-term and long-term recovery. Because yes, the wound's going to heal. Yes, the sutures are going to be removed. The staples will be taken out. Those things, you'll regain motion slowly but surely. But truly, to recover from knee replacement surgery, oftentimes takes somewhere around the 6 to 12 months. And in the end, just the thought of, half a year, a year's period of time, not being able to do the things to the fullness that we would desire is not okay. And it comes with a cost. Because working our way to the place where we're ready for a knee replacement means that we have lost opportunities along the way. We've lost the ability to go and play with kids, to get down on the floor with our grandchildren, to play sports, to just simply do basic house cleaning and self-care. And we've lost tremendous amounts of opportunities. And to me, it's just a sad thing to recognize that it doesn't have to be. And it always comes up sooner or later. So how does this happen? That's always the question. Doc, I don't understand. How could this possibly have happened to me? And here's the sad thing. The sad thing is oftentimes the things that have put this into motion, those aching knees, those broken down joints, the arthritis, the degeneration, the tears in the tissue, have happened such a long time ago. Some of us, it's the way our body was designed. Not having the proper arches in our feet. And we'll talk about that. Maybe it's the sports-related injuries. Maybe it's the things that we did as a kid, jumping off the roof. I have people who've jumped out of airplanes. Let's realize there's a lot of different ways. Some of us, it's the repetitiveness of our jobs, the repetitiveness of our exercise, the sports-related injuries, the fact that we've been injured and we've never fully recovered because we haven't spent the time to clean up the damage, to remove the scars that were left behind. And in our body, unfortunately, it just doesn't care. It doesn't care about our age. It doesn't care about our financial stature. Unfortunately, when we leave those scars behind and we don't clean up damages, what ends up happening is those damages only continue to fester and get worse with time. And I have to say that again. They fester and they get worse with time. The reason is because many of us want to ignore the things of our past. We want to ignore what we've done in order to contribute to this problem. We want to ignore the fact that, we've ignored those damages. And just like a cavity, they don't get better with time. It starts a very vicious circular reaction that occurs within each and every one of our bodies that slowly creates this downward spiral of breakdown and decay. And sadly, one day we wake up and we wonder, why can't I do the things that I used to do? Why can't I do those things? And oftentimes, it's not just because of the initial injury, it's the fact that we didn't clean it up. But the real question is how can I help myself? Listen, we can live in the past. We can look back into our past history and trying to figure out, what was that thing that I did? The sports accident, the injury, maybe the impact that I had. But quite honestly, that's not nearly as important as where am I right now? And what can I do to change my future? So let's focus on those couple things. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to use an acronym. It's called BAM. This stands for Balance, Action, and Motion. And here's the thing. We're going to take that and we're going to apply this to that nagging knee pain that you have. And we're going to work on some solutions that each and every one of you are capable of engaging in. Each and every one of you are capable of doing on one level or another. And regardless of where you start from, you're capable of building that more and more over time. So let's take a look at this. So when we talk about balance, let's talk about the very bottom structure of our body. And that's our feet. Our spine was created, it was designed with three separate curves, the cervical, the thoracic, and the lumbar curves. And each one of those curves are uniquely and wonderfully made in order to make sure that our body stays balanced. Well, we also have three arches in our feet. And those curves and those arches are designed to transfer force to the right places. In fact, we have used this same technology or this same idea every day in our lives. When we drive down the road and we cross a bridge, guess what? That bridge has that arch underneath it that transfers force into those pilings, that makes sure that that structure can be loaded up with thousands of pounds of stress and pressure that we call vehicles. Well, our body is exactly the same way. And many of us, because we don't look at the bottom of our feet and we don't see how it's working under the force of gravity, we really don't know until we get tested. That's why here at the Limerick Chiropractic Center, on all of our new patients, we do foot scans. We utilize that technology so that we can understand and test the system to see how is it actually functioning. And we get to see how the body's not balanced, how breakdown isn't even, and in fact, how that will contribute to a lack of balance in your system. And I love the fact that, you know what, as a young kid, I got introduced to inserts and orthotics, and in turn, it's part of my everyday life. They go to shoe to shoe to shoe with me. And in turn, we realize that as we stand on our orthotics, we get to be stronger. That's why when we put patients into these products, we muscle test them on it to ensure that they're functioning the way they're supposed to. Because the body, when it's balanced, is much stronger than when it's out of balance. Now, I would love to say that that's where this conversation would end. That's not the case. Because there's good, better, and best in this conversation. Yes, you have the inserts. You can stand on a Dr. Scholl's product, and you can find an insert that's recommended for you because it sort of looks like it's going to fit. Here in the office, we make sure that we're muscle testing on over-the-counter products and get them so that they're wedged appropriately so that they actually fit your foot the way they're intended. But those best choices are those custom-made products that, just like your fingerprint, well, it's an exact match for what your body needs. But everybody's different. So in turn, we want to make sure that we're matching people up with the right product for them. Now, when we talk about the action, we need to make sure that we're strengthening this body of ours and strengthening the knees. Not just the muscles in the front of the knees, but also the ones that are behind the knees. Unfortunately, we live in a world that we sit way too much. Sitting is literally killing this body of ours. It's destroying it. And when we sit, what ends up happening is these muscle systems, well, they come out of balance. And when they come out of balance, unfortunately, it creates undue wear and tear and stress on our knee joint. Now, the wonderful thing is there's very simple products. And many of us, listen, we don't want to have to go to the gym. We don't want to have to buy thousands of dollars worth of products in order to do what needs to be done. We utilize a product here in our office called Monkey Feet, which allow us to not just work the quadriceps muscles, the muscles that are in the front of the legs, but also work the muscles that are in the back of the legs that are oftentimes very, very weak because of us sitting too much. The hamstrings, the gluteal muscles, and all of these muscle groups, this chain of muscles helps to make sure that our knee stays nice and stable. That stability, many of us, when we test the system, is just horribly out of balance. And that's why we see what's called an anterior pelvic tilt. Now, I will tell you that we've gone through and we've talked about knee exercises in other workshop videos, and I would encourage you to go to our Facebook and also to our YouTube channel so that you can look at the other videos on knee exercises. And we will talk about some of those other things that you can do. But the Monkey Feet happens to be one of the simplest and easiest ways to build strength back up to where it's supposed to be. Because from there, the last thing in BAM is that motion, that movement that the body requires. Yes, when you have subluxations, when bones come out of place, those joints deteriorate more quickly. When we have subluxations or we don't move the way we're intended, these knee joints, that old adage, if you don't use it, you'll lose it, it holds true. And I hate to say it, but many of us have gotten way too sedentary. But if we talk about motion, we talk about moving these joints, listen, one of the biggest things is just getting up and walking. And in the sake of making sure that things stay balanced, one of the things that you do want to do is you want to walk forward, but you also want to walk backwards. Now, I got to be honest with you. I've heard all types of excuses. It's too cold, it's too dark out, there's no place around my house that I'm able to walk. There are these things that are called parks. Generally speaking, we have opportunities. There's these things that they call malls. Apparently, they're lit, they're heated in there, or they're air conditioned, which gives you that opportunity of walking around in an environment, and in turn, getting the motion that you need. We need to find more solutions and not more problems for ourselves. But here's the thing. In the end, some of us have left those scars behind. And there's products like what's called a shockwave therapy, which is an acoustical sound therapy that allows for us to increase blood flow, decrease nerve irritation, allow for us to create pain relief, and also strip scar tissue away. It's a simple product, it's painless in the process, and yet it helps to wipe away some of those old sins that we've left behind. Is the tissue ever going to be 100%? The answer is no. But in the same respect, we don't have to add toxins and pills and injections, putting things into our body that were never there. These are technologies that allow us that opportunity of very naturally helping ourselves. Now, ultimately, the question is going to be, what are you going to do for yourself? As always, I ask you to do 3 things in these videos. I want to hear from you. Like the video, that helps to make sure that this video information gets shared across the Facebook platform. Leave me a comment because I want to hear and know what your takeaway was. In fact, if you have questions, leave it in the comment section. I love responding to those comments and those questions. Finally, share this information. Share it with others so that they get to experience the same thing that you just heard. That your Facebook friends, your community, your group has the opportunity of at least getting exposed to this information. I love that we have the opportunity on a weekly basis to come to you and break down very complex conversations and keep it really, really simple. My hope is that you engage and help yourself, but also that you share so that hopefully you get to save somebody else from having to rebuild themselves. I'm Dr. Joseph Baker from the Limerick Chiropractic Center.